Center. We've got Mr. Mark Sokol. Mark's the VP of Marketing at CyberFox, promotes cybersecurity for MSPs and IT pros, emphasizing education, tools, and software. He fosters a vibrant spirit within CyberFox, as we can see with his mascot that he's got right there, and making security both effective and enjoyable. And Mark, the stage is yours.
All right, thanks. And yeah, I think after that, I'm going to have to try a few shows of my own here. I'll get them started. So yeah, today we're going to talk about least privilege, and that essentially kind of why that we really need to focus on that. Going some years ago, and we can have a little fun with this. Microsoft put out some information saying, hey, if an application has too many privileges, ultimately the network can be compromised. The attacker can get in through that. And the interesting thing about that is that was actually back in 1995 that actually started. So Microsoft's been talking about this concept of getting everybody down to least privilege for a long time. And us as providers, us as vendors, need to be aware of that. And what's really changed, right? There's a lot more now ability for attackers to get into your system, into your organization, and take advantage of that. So they continued on talking about it some years later. Hey, least privilege, yet many organizations aren't really following it. So what is that? When was that? That was about 4 years later, 1999. Well, recently, in the last year, Microsoft put it out again, said, hey, all your accounts really should have least privilege. If only one of those accounts get compromised because of that, because someone has actually privilege rights, ultimately the bad actor can get through your organization in a lateral approach and take advantage and compromise that. So really, we're talking about you need to get rid of everybody that has privileged access. Why do people have privileged access? Very common as an MSP, you're dealing with clients that have QuickBooks that constantly need to be updated. That's actually the number one. It's just the CFO has to update QuickBooks usually on a weekend, can't get access if you have locked them down. There's a lot of ways you can lock people down, but really in the end, leveraging something that we'll talk about in a second here, you can do it a lot easier and simpler. And the reason is there's a lot of software out there that has just been badly written over the years, not taking account privilege. Some surveys here. Over 5,000 Sophos actually did this survey. 77% of organizations that they were kind of connected to actually experienced a ransomware attack. They've seen a lot more attacks coming on, and they've seen actually data of their customers and themselves actually get encrypted 90% of the time. Most of those attacks there impacted the ability of that business and potentially that MSP also to actually operate. Ultimately causing a loss of business, loss of revenue, and they're kind of relying on just email security and some other things to do to accommodate that. And of course, it's all throughout the news. So your customers are seeing that and what's happening. How are we going to get protected? There's other backups with cyber insurance and things like that. But ultimately, it is all over the place. And this is what really got me here. I mean, they attacked the library system in San Francisco here. Not sure what they got out of it, but the bottom line is everybody is at risk. Everybody's at risk. So what did any of those organizations in that survey, 35% actually paid ransom. But what happened is a lot of those you see on the right-hand side, they paid the ransom, but they didn't get any data back. Some of them got some data, but the number one method ultimately was these companies had to go to backup. So depending on the backup policy that you have, hopefully it's pretty quick, but sometimes in some cases you're going back to backups from weeks or potentially. A lot of downtime and a lot of costs there. CompTIA also had some put out some information also as well, and of course these are over 500. Tech professionals, and basically everybody's getting impacted. So what the true damage is on average, this is a stat that's kind of out there as well, is it takes a couple weeks to ultimately get back up and running. There's a lot of that downtime, the organization, the MSP themselves. And why is that? Ultimately, here's Oprah here giving away admin access. I do believe everybody got it. Actually did have to pay taxes that day. on getting admin access, but we don't want that. We don't want everybody to have admin access. So on your cybersecurity journey, which is always a journey, it really is this circuitous route here, ultimately to getting everybody locked down. We posit that there's a better way to go through it, a little bit more direct line to kind of get those bad actors out there, that there's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And how do we do that? So at CyberFox, go off to the first right-hand side here is we give you the ability to get rid of those privileged users and allow them to, on time when they have to update QuickBooks, give them that opportunity to update QuickBooks just as if they had that admin access, because there's rules behind the scenes that you set. Also, your technicians need that admin access. Well, what does that mean? So we actually give you the ability to create just-in-time admin accounts. So your technician who may leave the next day will not have the ability to know a password or even what an admin account is. But then in addition to that, we're giving another layer of security here, something we call blocker, preventing living off the land attacks, and that's new. So between this combination of get rid of your end users with privilege, get rid of even your techs to have access to a privileged account, and then blocking living off the land attacks, we believe it kind of gives you this full circle in a very simple way. And of course, we also have a password manager, which ultimately you want to stop that, because it's your people that are creating, it's ultimately your people that are creating the challenges here. So you can do all the security awareness training and a whole bunch of other things, but by removing their access, by removing even some of your employees' access to standing accounts, by taking the ability to mitigate the living off the land attacks, and in our case, blocker, and then providing secure access to password, we believe that you can be more secure with CyberFox. And we got a breakout session here. I guess everybody's going in about a half an hour or so, and we do have a $150 gift card, and we can talk more about what we're doing here at CyberFox. So thanks, guys.
We've got Mr.